Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Donjo part number 943 door reinforcing plate. This is a CW version, which just means that the latch bolts are mortised into the edge of the plate in an AB finish, and that's antique brass. Let's take a look at that. Okay. First impression is that it's heavy. Weighs about 1.15 pound with its screws. It's all solid brass, and this is what it looks like. You can see the inside piece of the brass, or the inside showing that it's brass. This magnet will at least attest to the fact that it's not ferrous, but it's made of solid brass. In the 943, that part number, that actual number, refers to all of the physical dimensions of the item, meaning what you're going to get when you buy this item in terms of its width, its height, and its preparations. Exactly that. The only thing the 943 does not infer is that the CW tells us that when you install the latch bolts, they'll be mortised flush, or they will be flush with the edge of the plate, and that it is prepped in such a way where you would attach the latch bolts to the plate directly and then install the entire plate, versus the VF version. VF would be a flat front that would just have basically holes in the edge, okay, where the latch bolt is still attached to the door. If you have significant damage to the door where the latch bolt cannot be attached down to the door, you'd want to attach that to the hardware, slip the hardware onto the door, and then attach the hardware to the door itself. Okay, so that's where you would use a CW version. The AB, that's just, again, the finish. Let's go over the different finishes, then we'll talk about 943. The 943 is certainly available in a brass-based material as, well, they call it 10B 613. It's not, that's oil rub bronze, but they should not call it oil rub bronze because it's not. It's a powder-coated dark brown color that is complementary to oil rub bronze, but it's not oil rub bronze. 609 or AB, that's antique brass over a brass-based material. And by the way, that powder coat oil rubbed is probably on a stainless-based material. Number 3, you can do a BZ, which is a 612 finish, satin bronze. And then also a PB or a 605 finish, that's polished brass. And then finally 630 or S, that is stainless steel. Okay, now we are looking at the 943 part. That specifically tells us, again, all of the dimensional properties of the item. And the height of the item is inherently 9 inch. So all of these dimensions I'm about to give you mean 943. It's 9 inch tall. It's 4 1/4 wide. Okay. It has 2 holes, and those holes have a center-to-center dimension of 4 inch. Okay, those holes are 2 1/8 diameter, both of them. Those holes have a back set of 2 3/4 inch, both of them. Okay, and you see that the tape measure doesn't exactly hit 2 3/4, nor did the width exactly get 4 1/4, because they're really going from the inside of that plate. Okay. That's really where they're measuring it from. So, if you've got 2 holes that are 4 inch on center, and they're at 2 3/4 back set, and your locks require 2 1/8 inch holes, 943, that's the one you need. Where are you going to use this? Well, it's very rare that anyone is going to use this in a new installation, even though it's not unheard of to do that. Some people have ordered these from me and have basically said, I know there's going to be an attempt at break-in or vandalism. I've had to put these on all the other doors. Let's put it on the new door. So that would be a case. However, more commonly, by far, of course, is where the door gets damaged, broken, intentionally kicked in, theft. You've lost your keys in and you tried to get in the door and you were able to reduce the amount of collateral damage significantly, but nonetheless, it's still mucked up pretty bad. Your door can be kicked in and thoroughly split, but you're able to kind of get it back together. but you really, because it's split, you really have A, nowhere to install the latch bolts back down to, and need something U-shaped to go, oh, I forgot, 1 3/4 thick door. That's the 943 as well. That 1 3/4 thick is as important as anything else. So you've split the door, there's nowhere to attach the latch bolts back to, and you really need a U-shaped channel to get back down over the edge of the door to secure it all together. Okay. That's really where you're going to use this when you're trying to mitigate damage, meaning that replacing the door is not adding this plate, this U-shaped reinforcing plate to the door is the lesser of two evils, meaning it's worse to replace the entire door. Maybe your door is decades old and is not replaceable. The cost to replace a door is most certainly more than the hardware and the labor to reinstall it, and that you're basically okay with inherently changing the look of the door by adding this U-shaped channel. By the way, the scratched surface you see, that's just the peel-away protective film covering the really nice antique brass finish over that solid brass base material. Now, when I've installed these, it's really important to do a dry fit. Get the lock pulled off. Get this down onto the edge of the door and test your operation. See how well the door is going to behave with basically adding a piece of material that's not thin. That's for sure. Its weight comes from the fact that this piece of brass is not thin. My caliper tells me that this is 50 thousandths thick, 0.050. And that's a standard thickness for architectural metal when it's used in flat goods like kick plates and push and pull plates. But, you know, you're going to have for sure a 1/16 of an inch, and you're going to need a little bit more than that. So you might need to mitigate the issue in terms of being able to just simply accommodate the item to begin with. You might need to chisel the edge of the door. You might need to chisel the hinges in a little bit to bring the door over. You might need to plane the edge of the door down. Planing the edge of the door down is really not an answer because, you know, you're changing the back set. You might have to ovalize the holes a little bit. You might need to, if your margin is tight on the side of the door already, you might need to both ovalize the holes to fit the lock in, but also mortise all of this flush. Get a router and literally mortise the entire edge of the door so that you can get this down as flush to the edge of the door as possible. Okay. Don't expect this to just slide on, okay? Because it's, you know, they work, people get them installed, there's no doubt, but it's usually to get it as nice of an installation as possible. A chore, a task, that's the bottom line, okay? So, installing the item, you've done a dry fit, you're going to want to get your latch bolts attached to this. You're going to get machine screws, okay, that will attach right down into these insert nuts for your latch bolts. Reuse the latch bolts, put them in with the included in machine screws. That whole assembly will go down onto the door. And when I install the material, I like to pre-drill my holes for the included screws, and there's 4 of them, 2 and 2, and such an ever so slight angle so that I can draw the plate just slightly tight back, okay? Don't want to angle it, the pre-drill of the hole this way. I'd like to just kick it a degree or so back so that when the head of the underside of the head of the screw hits the face of the plate, it will serve to suck the plate back a little bit, okay? A little experience, a little practice will make you real perfect at doing that. And while this might be an eyesore in certain instances, it could be the saving grace to keeping a door faithfully providing security. There's a link below this video to a document called Template that will give you all of the dimensional properties that I've already referred to. They do say the thickness of the material is 0.32. It's 0.50, so it's thicker than that. All those dimensions are there, and at least one that I've not given you. So that's there for your review. There's also a link to a document called Product Catalog that will allow you to review all wraparound plates from Donjo. And if you know the name Donjo for anything, you likely know them for their wraparound plates because that's what they're most notorious for. Good quality wraparound plates, latch protectors. However, and before we get to the final part of this, that product catalog will allow you to review all of these items. And it could be that you have a scenario that Danjo doesn't have a plate for, but that would be highly unlikely. They have plates for almost everything. So you're really going to be wanting to look at your back set, your hole diameter, your center to center, if you've got two of them, the size. They can do the small ones, the big ones. They can do real big ones as well. They can also sell you a blank one that you've got a custom need to do something and you have the desire to do the drilling yourself. Be mindful that drilling stainless, to say that it's a chore would be an epic understatement. You can make your own. You might have a real funny center to center. You might even have a real odd back set. I've had people order 2.5-inch back set and they were sure that it was 2.5. Okay, take the blank one and just simply drill it and be done with it. Things of that nature. Okay, more so because they might be removing a piece of hardware, going from a traditional grip handle with a separate deadbolt, and they're putting on a electronic combination lock, or nowadays, online Wi-Fi style locks. You got to pull those locks off to put the new one on. The holes, the function holes, obviously aren't going to be the same. So that link to the catalog's handy, but on that manufacturer's page where you can review not only all things Danjo that we sell, a link to the manufacturer's website, but also a link to the entire product catalog. They are, in fact, a comprehensive provider of all things trim and auxiliary hardware related, and in fact, they do a very good job at it. I'm partial to Danjo, and it's because I like their quality, I like their predictability, I like their people, I like the answers that I get when I call them. They're knowledgeable, they want to help you, and in the rare occasions that they make a mistake, they make it good right away. If you have any questions on the Danjo 943 CW in an AB finish or any other Danjo product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.